After buying and selling over 600 lots, I've learned you always pay more for land than you expect. And it's the stuff no one warns you about that drains your wallet. So in this video, I'll show you 10 hidden land traps to avoid so your affordable lot doesn't turn into a costly nightmare. Trap number 1. You finally buy the land, it's peaceful, affordable, and just the right size for a cozy home. You start drawing up plans, but then the county inspector calls. He says, there's a problem. A big one. You can't build here. No permit, no exceptions. So what happened? Well, in many counties, especially in places like upstate New York, if your land needs both a well and septic system, you'll need at least 2 acres to legally build. If your lot is smaller, it might be unbuildable no matter how good the price was. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, call the county health department or planning office and ask, what's the minimum lot size required for a home with private well and septic? And make sure to ask about setback requirements, how far everything needs to be from property lines, buildings, and each other. Trap number 2, you find the perfect lot, no HOA, no monthly dues, no one telling you what to do. You picture a tiny home or maybe living in an RV while you build. But then, after closing, the title company sends you the complete paperwork. Buried in the fine print is an old restriction. No RVs allowed. Tiny homes? Not unless they're built on a permanent foundation and meet a minimum square footage. So what happened? Even without an HOA, some properties still have deed restrictions. Rules placed on the land years or decades ago by the original developer. These restrictions might limit what kind of structure you can build, whether you can live in an RV, what you can park, store, or even grow. And once they're recorded on the deed, they stay with the land even if the seller doesn't mention them. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, ask the title company or real estate attorney to check for any recorded deed restrictions. You can also call the county recorder's office and ask, are there any covenants or restrictions recorded for this parcel? Trap number 3, you find the perfect rural property, quiet, remote, surrounded by hills. You fire up the excavator and start clearing space for a driveway. Then a truck pulls up. A neighbor jumps out, waving their arms. Stop! Don't go any further. You need to be careful out here. Real careful. You pause, confused. So what happened? Some rural areas, especially parts of Oregon, Nevada, and the western US, have a naturally occurring mineral called areonite in the rock and soil. It looks like harmless gravel or dust, but when disturbed, it can release microscopic airborne fibers just like asbestos. And breathing those fibers have been linked to lung cancer. In fact, areonite may be even more dangerous than asbestos because people don't realize it's there. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, call the local planning or environmental health department and ask, are there any known mineral hazards or geologic risks in this area? If the land has exposed rock or gravel, or if you're buying in a region with volcanic soil, consider hiring a geologist or environmental consultant to inspect the site. Trap number 4, there's a stream running through the property. You're thinking water for your cabin, maybe even irrigation for a small garden, a self-sufficient setup, off-grid and independent. But then, after you buy, the county says you can't use the water. Not for drinking, not for plumbing, not even for irrigation. And suddenly, your plans are on hold. So what happened? In many states, especially out west, water rights are separate from land ownership. That means someone else might already control the stream on your property. And if you use that water without legal rights, you could face fines, lawsuits, or lose your permit to build. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, ask the seller or title company, are water rights included with this land? Then call the local water authority or state water board and confirm, can I legally use the water on this property or drill a well? Trap number 5, you buy the land, it's wooded, quiet, off the beaten path. You imagine putting a cabin in the trees, building a fence, keeping it all to yourself. But then you're walking the property one morning and a group of hikers pass right through it. You're confused. You're sure this is your land, but they don't look lost and they're not stopping. So what happened? Some properties come with a trail easement, a legal right that lets the public public pass through part of your land. It might be part of a county greenway, a conservation project, or a deal made by a previous owner decades ago. And once it's recorded, you can't block it, fence it off, or stop people from using it. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, ask the title company for a full title report and check for any easements. Then call the county planning or parks department and ask, is there a recorded trail or public access easement on this property? Trap number 6. You finally find the right piece of land. You close the deal. You're ready to build and already talking to contractors. Then one day, a letter shows up. It's from the county and it says you owe $15,000. No one mentioned it during closing, and now your project is stalled until you pay up. So what happened? You just ran into something called an impact fee, a charge counties add to new construction projects to help pay for roads, schools, emergency services, and more. In some areas, it's only a few $100. In others, it can cost you $10,000 or more just to start building. These fees are usually due before you can get a building permit, and they often don't show up in the listing, in the contract, or even during closing. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, call the county planning or building department and ask, are there any impact or development fees for this property? How much are they, and when would I have to pay them? Trap number 7. You find a beautiful wooded lot, private, peaceful, exactly the kind of place you'd want to build a quiet cabin. You walk it, flag the corners for your foundation, even start sketching out your floor plans. Then you submit your permit application and the county sends you a letter. Construction halted, pending further investigation. You call to find out what's going on. They say there's something on the land that needs to be looked at, something that might change what you're allowed to do with it forever. So what happened? In some rural areas, land may contain unmarked graves or indigenous burial sites. Even if the seller didn't know, the moment it's flagged by local or state officials, the property could face permit delays, mandatory archaeological surveys, or permanent restrictions on development. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, ask the county planning department, are there any historic or archaeological concerns tied to this parcel? Then search for past land uses through your state's historic preservation office. Trap number 8. You find a great piece of land. It's flat, dry, no rivers nearby. You move forward. You plan your build. Everything seems fine until the first big storm. Water starts pooling in the middle of your lot. The driveway washes out, and that perfect build site, now it's sitting in a few inches of water, sometimes for days. So what happened? Just because land isn't in a flood zone doesn't mean it's safe from flooding. If your lot sits in a low spot near a hill or in a natural drainage path, water can collect fast. And here's the kicker. This kind of flooding might not even show up as high risk on FEMA flood maps either. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, walk the land after it rains. Look for signs of standing water, washed out areas, or soggy ground. Ask the seller or nearby neighbors, does this area stay dry after a heavy rain? Did you ever have drainage issues around here? Trap number 9. You walk the land. Everything looks solid, clean, build ready. The seller even tells you the lot was cleared and prepped. But a year later, you find out what they really cleared. Suddenly, your yard starts sinking, your foundation cracks, or a soft spot gives away and reveals what's really underneath. So what happened? Some sellers or developers will bury construction debris, tree stumps, or even trash during construction to save money on hauling costs. It's illegal in many areas, but unless it's reported or inspected, it often goes unnoticed. Over time, these materials break down and collapse, leaving behind sinkholes, drainage issues, or unstable soil that can damage your home or yard. And unless you catch it early, you'll be the one paying to fix it. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, ask the seller in writing, has anything ever been buried or disposed of on this property? Get a soil or compaction test if you plan to build. Walk the land closely. Look for sunken spots, soft ground, or uneven grading. Trap number 10. You check the listing. The land looks peaceful and buildable. You're thinking, well water for your home, maybe a backup tank system, no utility bills, just simple, self-sufficient living. But then, after you close, the headaches begin. Your water starts tasting off, a chemical smell creeps into the air, and a few 100 feet away, trucks start showing up with rigs and tanks. So what happened? Your new property sits near a natural gas site, and in some states, that means fracking, waste pits, chemical runoff, and noise around the clock. Even if the drill site isn't on your land, the impacts can spread. Well water contamination, air pollution from gas flares, noise and truck traffic, and a drop in land value if you ever try to sell. So how do you avoid it? Before you buy, do a quick check. Visit the state's Oil and Gas Commission website. Look for any active or planned drilling sites nearby. Ask the county planning office, are there any oil or gas permits near this area? Is this area zoned for natural resource extraction? But here's the thing, even the best due diligence won't help if you're looking at the wrong kind of property. So watch this video next so you don't make the costliest mistake of all.